All right, so today we cancel Sesame Street. We could have canceled Sesame Street a week ago when Big Bird tweeted. Big Bird has a Twitter account now, by the way. He tweeted that he'd just gotten the vaccine despite having natural immunity from respiratory viruses due to the fact that puppets don't have respiratory systems. But I suppose if we're giving the vaccine to kids who are almost completely immune to severe COVID illness, then we might as well give it to fictional birds also. To make matters creepier, Big Bird then appeared on a CNN town hall to further push pharmaceuticals onto kids. Big Bird seems to have really settled into his new role as drug dealer. Here's what that looked like.
You know, my granny bird says that since I'm 6 years old, I can get the vaccine.
Oh, yeah, that's right, Big Bird.
But, well, I have a lot of questions. Like, what is a vaccine? And does it have to be a shot? And will I still need to wear my mask?
Those are such great questions, Big Bird. And it turns out lots of kids and families have questions, too.
So, over the next half hour, we're going to be answering your questions, talking with experts and giving you the information you need about vaccinations for kids.
You know what? Elmo better go change. See you later.
Oh, come on! It's time for the town hall! Yay!
Yay!
Okay, this raises a number of questions. Questions like, what the hell happened to Big Bird's voice? Why does he sound like a child molester now? He sounds distinctly creepy all of a sudden. And also, what kind of 6-year-old is watching a CNN special about vaccinations in the first place? Who is this? Who is the audience for this? When I was a kid, the only thing I knew about CNN was that it's the channel my dad watches sometimes when he wants to yell at the TV, which, come to think of it, explains a lot. In any case, this is all very weird and inappropriate and dystopian and horrible as a show for preschoolers hawks a drug that nobody in the preschool demographic actually needs. But that's not why I'm canceling Sesame Street. It would have been the reason until they gave us a whole new reason. As ABC reports, quote, Sesame Street debuts Ji Young, the first Asian American Muppet. That's the headline. The article says, at only 7 years old, Ji Young is making history as the first Asian American Muppet in the Sesame Street canon. She's Korean American and has two passions, rocking out on her electric guitar and skateboarding. The children's TV program, which first aired 52 years ago this month, gave the AP a first look at its adorable new occupant. Ji Young will formally be introduced in See Us Coming Together, a Sesame Street special. Simu Liu, Padma Lakshmi, and Naomi Osaka are among the celebrities appearing in the special, which will drop on Thanksgiving. Now, if you want to see Ji Young in action, which I know you do, here she is.
Actually, there's something really cool about my name. So in Korean, traditionally, the two syllables, they each mean something different. And Chi means like smart or wise, and Young means like brave or courageous or strong. Yeah.
And I think it was honestly inspired, unfortunately, by but the past year and the rise in attacks and racist incidents against Asian people, especially during COVID. My one hope, obviously, is to have Ji-young help teach, what racism is, help teach kids to be able to recognize it and then speak out against it. But then my other hope for Ji-young is that she just normalizes seeing different kinds of looking kids on TV.
And I'm excited to share kimbap and tteokbokki and gogi and jjigaes and banchans and kimchi and japchae and all sorts of stuff.
Ah, yes. Okay. Well, we need the Asian Muppet to tell kids about racism in case they didn't pick up on the racism lessons from literally every other show or movie they've ever watched. It's very important, you see, that we don't allow young children to go more than 17 minutes without being reminded of racism. Even 17 minutes is probably too long. I'm concerned that, like SpaghettiOs hasn't released a new product where the letters in the soup are RACISM, so that even when they're eating, they can still be reminded of racism. Plus, as the puppeteer behind the Asian Muppet explains, we also need to normalize Asian people for kids. This is important in case there are any children in America who've never seen an Asian person before. We need to think about, all those kids maybe who were raised inside a crater on the moon and haven't encountered any members of another race or ethnicity. We need to make sure we normalize other ethnicities for all of those moon children who might be watching. But this all leads to a confusing question. Ji Young is the first Asian puppet on Sesame Street. Okay. Well, then what race are the other Muppets? What race is Ernie? What is Elmo's nationality? Where is Grover's ancestral home? We know that the Count is from Transylvania, so we know that. We know Oscar the Grouch is from New Jersey, which is why he prefers living in a trash can. But the rest of the characters seem to be very intentionally non-racial. I mean, what the hell is Snuffleupagus supposed to be? Does Cookie Monster have an ethnic background? I guess he's from New Jersey also. In fact, he was the governor of the state from 2010 to 2018. But you see the point. Most of these characters have no ethnicity, no race, no nationality. They're fictional characters that all children can relate to equally. And I think that was sort of the point, right? They exist in a fantasy world where there are no races. And there was a time when this was the liberal utopia, a world of sameness where nobody is different, everyone is the same. And when it comes to things like gender, that kind of homogenous, ambiguous paradise is still what they strive for. But in the realm of race, as equity replaces equality, the pendulum has swung back in the other direction dramatically. And now, rather than emphasizing similarities and downplaying differences, the left wants to make sure that everyone is categorized and labeled and put into a box. And it makes things even more confusing because our gender is all fluid and there's no differences and it doesn't matter. But as far as race goes, we are strictly in our box and we can never leave it. They want kids to see themselves in those terms. Sesame Street actually has been pushing this message for a little while now. They debuted their first Black Muppets a few months ago. And here's how those characters explained race.
Well, it's because the more melanin you have, the darker your skin looks. The color of our skin is an important part of who we are. But we should all know that it's okay that we all look different in so very many ways.
Well, Emma's fur is red and soft.
Oh, and my hair is black and curly.
Things on the outside, like our skin color, our hair texture, our noses, our mouths and eyes, make us who we are. Many people call this race.
Our skin color is what makes us who we are, says the Black Muppet, as woke Sesame Street tries its hardest to ensure that kids see race first and foremost. But our skin color is what makes that. When I was a kid watching Sesame Street, the message was precisely the opposite of that. Of course, the funny thing is, you'll notice the Asian puppet doesn't actually look or sound all that Asian. And so this is always the conundrum for the identity box checkers when it comes to cartoons and puppets. They want to make sure that there's proper representation, but they also can't allow themselves to be accused of stereotyping, which is a problem because when you're making a puppet or a cartoon that's supposed to represent a certain race, then inevitably, by definition, there is a caricature, a stereotype going on. But they can't do that, yet they want to have the representation, which just means that the diverse characters meant to represent a specific ethnicity or race end up representing really nothing and nobody in particular. They want to racialize the fictional world as much as they've racialized the real world, but they can't really do that because then they'd be engaging in stereotypes. So they're left then with this weird kind of half measure, which is what wokeness always boils down to. It boils down to incoherence and weirdness in the end. Though on a different note, I'm wondering if we'll see the episode where the Asian puppet Ji Young applies for college and is turned down in favor of the Black Muppet. You know, that would be, that's another important real world lesson about equity. Maybe we'll get that as well. And I look forward to that. But in the meantime, Sesame Street, we must say, is canceled. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and share it with all your friends.